that take account, take measure of your actions before your actions are being measured. And take account of yourself before you get accounted. And that is referring to the day of judgment. That on these days, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring the actions of individuals. And these actions will be weighted in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So weight them here so you know how they are. And when we come to weight our action, it is not about the count of how much we have done. It's rather about the quality and sincerity in the action that we have performed. Because every individual will be raised on the day of judgment according to their intention. As Aisha radiallahu anha, she asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that, Ya Rasulullah, when evil prevails and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's chastisement and punishment will come down, would it affect those who are righteous? Would it affect those who are doing good deeds? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Na'am idha kathur al-khabath. When evil will prevail and will take over good actions, then of course when the punishment will come, it will engrave every single person. It will include every single person. Then on the day of judgment, people will be raised according to their intention. You have multiple people doing the same action, but the action becomes valuable or non-valuable in the court of Allah based on how you have intended to do that action. And that is what you call wazinu qabla an tuzanu, that you weight your action before it gets weighted. Every action requires for a person to look back into and see how he has performed, in what intention he has performed, and what was the purpose behind this action. وَحَاسِبُوا قَبْلَ أَن تُحَاسَبُوا, that take account of yourself on what you're doing before on the day of judgment, before you are accounted. On this base, as we mentioned, the first rukn of muhasabah, as Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah mentions, is tuqayis bayna ni'matillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala wa janayatika ala ni'matihi. It's to compare between the blessings of Allah and your disobedience towards Allah regarding that blessing. So Allah has given you a ni'mah, and now how you utilize this ni'mah. Is this ni'mah being used in the blessing of Allah or against the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Allah has given you a great thing in your life. Let's say Allah has given you health. Now you invest your health in doing those actions which are pleasing to Allah, or in doing those actions which aren't pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the first muhasabah that every individual needs to do with their action, that all the ni'mah that Allah has given me, where the usage of those ni'mah are, where the usage of those blessings are. Number two, the second category of muhasabah is أن تقايس بين السيئات والحسنات. It's to compare between your evil action, your bad action, and your good action. And my hasanat are more, or my sayyi'at are more. Because these were the criteria, this will be the criteria on the day of judgment when our actions are being weighted in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَى وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَى. Whoever has done an iota amount of good deed, he will see it. And whoever has done an iota amount of evil deed, he will also see it on the day of judgment. So the muhasabah that we need to do is بين السيئات والحسنات. Which one are greater? Is my sayyi'at, are my sins more, or my good deeds are more? And every single day this muhasabah needs to be done before we go to sleep. At night, today, what are the good deeds that I have performed? And what are the disobedience of Allah that I have done? And after this muhasabah, we ask Allah for forgiveness. That, oh Allah, whatever the shortcomings are, I ask your forgiveness. And whatever the good deeds that I have performed, this is only by your grace and mercy and rahmah. There is no greatness of mine involved in this. Then Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah writes, moving on, that how muhasabatu sayyi'at, taqayas sayyi'at and hasanat is going to be compared. You will need three things. Number one is nurul hikmah. Number two is su'ul dhanni li nafsik. And number three is tamyizun ni'mah min al fitan. The first thing he mentions, you need to have the wisdom of the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That you have been given the nur of Allah through which you are able to identify your evil deeds. Because identification is very important. A lot of the situations that the ummah is in today, they're not able to identify their evils. They're not able to identify what bad action they're doing. They're able to identify the evils of others. It's very easy to identify the evils of other people. And especially there is a great involvement of shaitan in it. Because part of shaitan's effort is to make you look at your bad deeds as good deeds. And to make the bad deeds of other people or shortcomings of other people great sins. If a person is involved in a backbiting, then it looks like a good sin. Look at this person, he's involved in backbiting. But when I'm involved in backbiting, it's okay. When a person is involved in slandering, it looks like a very big sin and haram action that this individual is doing. But when I am involved in slandering, it's fine. And that's the trick that shaitan plays. That when you look at someone else and he's doing something wrong, it becomes a very big deal for you. That look at this person. He considers himself to be a righteous, and look what he's doing. But unfortunately, when that action is done by myself, it's a very small action. It has no limit. It has no severity involved in it. So that's what Nur al-Hikmah is. That is the first thing that Ibn al-Qayyim mentions. You need to be able to identify which actions are good actions and which actions are bad actions. Number two, he mentions su'u dhanni li nafsi. That in yourself, you consider yourself to be very, very incompetent and disobedient person. Inside yourself. Don't be very happy inside that I'm doing a lot of good deeds. For other people is husnul dhan. For yourself is su'ul dhan. This is why Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to make dua. Allahumma ja'al fi ayni saghira wa fi a'yuni nasi kabira. Oh Allah, make me very little in my own eyes. The biggest problem is our own ego. We do little, but we think we're doing a lot. To overcome this, then and only a person is able to identify his evil action and his good action. When he thinks of himself that he's not doing anything. If you look from the life of Sahaba, Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een, this is a common thing that you will find, that after doing so much, they will consider that we haven't done anything. Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu is crying in front of Allah that, oh Allah, my provision for akhirah is very less. Ahin min qillati zad wa bu'd al-safar wa wahshat al-tariq. The provision of akhirah, a'mal are very less. And these people gave their life for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The minute a person thinks that he's doing a lot of good deeds, this is what you call that you have been confident about yourself. And at that time, a person is not able to identify good and evil from the actions that he is performing. And number three, that a person needs to have to be able to identify good from evil is understanding what is the ni'mah of Allah and what is the test of Allah. What is a trial? Because both come with the same gift wrap. The trial of Allah comes, Allah gives wealth to people as a ni'mah. Allah gives wealth to people as a trial, as a test. And when a person is not able to identify the test between the test and the blessing, then what happens is he considers a test of Allah as a blessing and he becomes oblivious. He thinks, oh, Allah is giving me so much, that means I'm a very close person to Him. But he's not understanding that this is the test of Allah. Allah wants to test that how pure and clean you become after Allah has given you blessings. When Allah gave blessings to Dawood alayhi salam, immediately the hukum was, اعملوا آل داود شكرا وقليل من عبادي الشكور. That, oh Dawood, make sure you put yourself down in the shukr of Allah, because blessings of Allah requires shukr. When a person is granted a blessing, Allah wants to see that how his reaction is. Because positions are some things and wealth is something that changes an individual. A very nice person, very humble person, the minute he has been given a title, then his attitude changes. Yes, I am somebody. I am someone. I have this title. Now you walk around with a different behavior. You have a different approach. Your speech changes. These are all trials of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are all tests of Allah. Sometimes Allah Azza wa Jal gives something to an individual not because you are capable and competent. Rather, Allah wants to test you. And this is what we need to look at in muhasabatun nafs. That Allah has given me this title. Allah has given me this responsibility. Now, first and foremost thing, is it a test of Allah or the ni'mah of Allah? What is my usage? How is my behavior? Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, the day after he received khilafat, he's walking outside. A small girl says, now you are not going to milk our goat. Abu Bakr said, no, I will continue to milk your goat. And I ask Allah that Abu Bakr doesn't change by the title and responsibility that he has received. Radiallahu anhu. So that is what we need to do when we come to muhasabatun nafs. We ask Allah to grant us the strength, the ability, the capability of doing this. This is very important, that we are doing our actions every single day, but very little we go back into our action and look into it, so how these are being performed and are they getting the blessings of Allah or not. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from our nafs and shaitan, and we ask Allah to grant us the ability to do what is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. آمين يا رب العالمين. جزاكم الله خيرا. سبحان الله وبحمده. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا